Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and as Rishi Sunak continues to get the tone of his campaign horribly wrong, IPSOS dropped the latest MRP poll last night. In terms of the main point of the election now, which is to relegate the Tories into third place, the results were more of a mixed bag than the Survation results. The headline results don't look brilliant for the Lib Dems, but under the bonnet, there's a great deal more for them to be pleased about. So first thing to point out, the MRP polls coming out now are taking account of where actual candidates have been selected. So if a particular party doesn't have a candidate in a seat, it doesn't get a vote share in that seat. So let's go through the main results of interest. So of most interest in terms of the main objective of wiping out the Tories, the headline results are that the Conservatives would win 115 seats with the Lib Dems on 38. And you go, well, that sounds terrible. However, they produced a really interesting analysis of the sort I've been doing with MRPs anyway to point something out. I've said this with other recent results. We have to remember these models. It's like when it says it's going to win that many seats, it's like, oh yeah, that's solid. They're going to win that. Some seats are solid, others look vulnerable, and others are basically a toss-up. And with over 2 more weeks to go and the Tories still flailing around looking for a plan, it's not unreasonable to suppose that any seats that the Conservatives are considered to be holding on by their fingernails right now could easily slip by polling day. Take yesterday, for example. Rishi Sunak spent the day trying to win over farmers, a group that the Tories have previously been able to take for granted. Not anymore. He also managed to turn that into a disaster as well, as all the sheep for his photo opportunity ran away from him. Again, Labour are using this in one of their campaign ads now. When Labour are using your photo opportunities in ads, you're making a mess. I mean, he can't even get the sheep to vote for him. He's knackered. So what IPSOS did anyway was to produce a chart where they ranked seats by party according to whether they were strong, likely, lean, or a toss-up. And then they took all the toss-ups out. And because most of the Tory 115 seats are toss-ups, and they were removed, it left the Conservatives on 59 seats. So the raw figures are saying, okay, if it was to be held, 115 seats, but once you take away the ones where they're only just shading it, like, just mathematically, it's just 59 seats left. And then 33 of those seats have been won by what's described as a lean margin, like, just a few percent. Then they've only got 26 seats left. And that's so IPSOS are saying they're only confident that the Conservatives are likely to win 26 seats. So although the Lib Dem tally looks low, you consider what the detail says. It says that the Tories have 26 seats that they're likely to win. And the Lib Dems, if you take away their lean ones, they've got 24 that they're likely to win. So it's only 2 behind. So it's really how all of those lean and toss-up seats end up being distributed on polling day that make the difference. Now, obviously, the media are doing their best. They're giving a kind word to the Conservatives and almost no word about the Lib Dems at all. You wouldn't even know the Lib Dems existed if you were a tourist over here, but watching the news anyway. But if their ground operation is working well and with 2 weeks more to go, I would say there's encouragement there for them. So as I've said before, when you're looking at how MRPs are presented, it's not just about the seat distribution that you will get in the headline figures. It's about how close a lot of the crucial contests are. And for almost all of the Tory seats, they could still win its fine margins. And I can imagine in a lot of those places where it's fine margins that the Lib Dems are competing for, they're going to have a lot of activists really buoyed up, knocking on doors, leafleting. Conservative activists are noticeably de-energised at the moment. And of course, in some of those seats as well, in fact, more of those seats, Labour will be competing with them and they're really energised. There's very little things can flip the other way. People voting tactically, people just turning up to vote, just people who wouldn't normally vote going, I'm sick of this, I'm going to turn up to vote. It is now too late to register to vote if you hadn't already. Silly. But today is the last day to register for a postal vote if you want that. So if you haven't got that sort and you think that would be useful, do that now. If not, the next deadline to be aware of is June the 26th to make sure you've got your voter authority certificate if you don't have other valid voter ID, or to set up a proxy vote. In terms of the other points of interest, IPSOS are pointing out how efficient Labour's vote is, picking up the most support in the areas they've been targeting, and the least, even losing a little, in some of the areas where they've already got whack-eye majorities. Now, looking at some of the specific constituencies, I'm going to say there are some very odd results flagging up for what you'd say the smaller parties. So let's start with the Green Party. The results are giving the Greens the nod on 2 seats, one against Labour in Bristol Central, which you go, okay, there's a lot of other polls saying that, and another against the Tories in North Herefordshire, which is a bit more surprising. It makes them slight favourites in a toss-up with the Lib Dems in Waveney Valley. But this is the first MRP poll I think I've seen recently that shows them well behind in Brighton Pavilion, which is their existing seat, which seems odd, as the Green vote has been holding up pretty well nationally. But maybe, as they're trying to broaden their appeal in some of the other areas to get those other target seats, maybe they're losing it a bit amongst other types of voters. I don't know, we'll see. Then there are the key targets for Reform UK. It's giving the biggest win, not to Nigel Farage in Clacton, but to Neanderthal in Ashfield. Now, I have to say this looks mad, not just because it's giving Reform UK the nod, because other polls suggest they're in the hunt there, but unlikely to win. But this MRP doesn't just say Reform are going to win. It's an absolutely stonking majority. Now, don't get me wrong, Ashfield is a very messed up place, but I'm not sure it's really this messed up, especially when other pollsters are nowhere near this result. You know, we'll wait to see what the next YouGov poll says, which is out at 5 p.m. today. So guess what tomorrow's first video is going to be on. It does also give Farage the win in Clacton, but with Labour being by far the closest challenger, not the Conservative. So someone might want to tell Alistair Campbell that. Finally, it makes Reform slight favourite in North West Leicestershire. Now, this is where Andrew Bridgen is standing as an independent against his old party. So that will split the Conservative vote again there. So that's credible. But again, Labour are the tactical vote there as well and not too far behind. Richard Tice is given a fighting chance in Boston and Skegness, but not necessarily a likely chance. And then poor old Ben Habib is given no chance at all in his seat. So some very strange individual results if you compare to other polling. However, I do not lightly dismiss an Ipsos poll. They are very good. Their methodology is very clearly explained and strong. They have strong arguments for it. For example, not only do they have a good recent track record, they are one of the squeeze question pollsters as well, which means that when they ask someone how they will vote, if they say they don't know, because there are undecideds, but remember, undecided is not the same as not going to vote. So what they do is they tend to ask them again. So it reduces the reliance on needing to either ignore the undecided voters, which some pollsters do, or redistribute them as some others do. Both of those things create errors that you'd rather do without. So the Conservative and Reform UK vote share in particular is likely to be more accurate in this Ipsos poll than quite a few other pollsters would do. But my goodness, there's some crazy results in here if true. However, what I would say, so there's a reason I covered these notable seats for what I call the smaller parties. Pollsters are already facing significant challenges this year. We've got changing boundaries. Some boundaries are changing madly. Voter suppression from voter ID, even just the length of this parliament and false recall, which Ipsos draw attention to, which I'm very pleased about. I like it when pollsters at least recognise the problems with false recall because it means they're trying to take account of it. And smaller parties create greater problems as well, especially Reform UK, because they don't really have a history. There's no such thing as a voter who can say, I voted Reform UK all my life. And without their party infrastructure, it's harder to assess the real strength of Reform UK because it's all top down, I keep saying. It all comes from the national media platforming them when they really shouldn't be to this level. And, you know, on the ground level, there will be some areas where they do have a decent number of activists door knocking, I'm sure. But in quite a lot of places, it's just a stall in the town centre, like a tent in the town centre, because they just don't have the people. It doesn't have the infrastructure. It doesn't have a genuine support base. And you know, it's not been around very long. So it's hard to assess the real strength of Reform UK in the polls. The Green Party is, of course, much more stable. It's got a real party infrastructure, a genuine support base, and has been around for much longer. But the relatively small size of its vote means errors are proportionally greater there as well. That being said, this is the election for mad results, even more so than in 2019, so who knows. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.